This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Welcome to Behind the Scenes, for your half-assed entertainment news with no bullshit, with our hosts, Summer Helene and Bear Fiorda, only on Talk 4 Media.
G'day guys. Welcome to Behind the Scenes. We are in Burnie, Tasmania. I am your host, Summer Helene, and we are on with my co-host, fighting about how to sit up straight, Bear Fiorda.
I love that. It's a brand new title. We should introduce me to that when I get to the cage next time.
The guy that can't sit up straight.
So, if you guys, maybe this is not common knowledge, it's anytime you got a guy who competes a lot in martial arts or fighting.
You have to look at the camera, not yourself. It's
on
the side.
I apologize. There you guys are.
His vanity's taking over. He's like watching himself.
Hey, you know what? It's the TikTok in me. Oh, you see all the guys when they talk to the camera, they look right at themselves and never at the little point that they should. It's just
supposed to look right there.
You're right. You should be looking at the camera. Anyways. Fighters, martial artists, boxers, whoever, they tend to have a hunch because it's what's required of their body whenever they're going to defend themselves. Even wrestlers stand with a hunch because all they do is change height levels, get lower to go for a takedown. So I have a bad habit of always rolling my shoulders forward, always leaning down like I'm about to get into a fight in a sense. And so we're trying to work on that as we're on the radio show.
That's not my problem. Like, I have no problem with the fact that you're hunched. Mm-hmm. My problem is, like, we set up for the radio show and you don't take it into account. Like, that really Pickle Bear. I like that.
Pickle Bear. Hey, Sniffy.
That really bothers me. Like, all you have to do is shove a pillow behind you. But you don't. And then halfway through the show, you're, like, leaning on me. Like, right now, you're hurting me. I have a broken back.
I'm going to go and say right now, this is a matter of honestly, we're just in a bed versus our normal stand. But I can try and
That's
move.
not the issue. Don't move. Please don't move. Please.
Don't move?
No.
Okay.
Don't do anything.
Understood.
Because I can turn this.
Okay.
And we're sort of framed, but the reality is, like, every time you move, you hurt me. Wow.
Well, we're in a pickle then, speaking of which. But I will do my very best not to move around so we're not causing you any harm.
I fell over yesterday on a bus. First, my assistant Alexis slammed me in a car door like 2 days ago. And then I fell over on the bus yesterday. So the broken back is getting worse. And
yes.
Ironically, all the pain was gone. I'm not allergic to the food here. I don't have any other problems. So I'm running around like a psycho since we got to Australia, and now my back hurts.
I feel like we also met the most aggressive bus driver yesterday. Like I've only had been on a bus twice now in all of Australia, 2 buses, and I think I met the one who just likes to jackrabbit start yesterday.
It's all of them.
It's all of them.
It's all.
If you guys come to
He just
Australia,
took up and some like random lady grabbed me, thank God. But I nearly hit the floor. Like, I'm being saved by some lady.
No, you know what? She was your superhero that day.
She was.
Yes.
It was like random lady number 4 caught Summer. No, but you know, it's like in her story, she's like, I saved this crazy lady that was in from America the other day, flying through the air. It really was. Mm-hmm. No exaggeration. This lady really saved me.
She did an awesome job. And I love that you called her bus lady number 4 so we don't have to pay her as much.
Exactly. He caught on.
You want to explain that bit?
No, go for it.
Okay. So basically in Hollywood and more so movie production, whenever you name somebody, you have to pay them more contractually. So what they do is they have that bus person number 1, bus person number 2, or whoever in whatever field, and that way they don't have to pay them as much. Now, that said, you guys still have a standardized day pay.
We have a minimum. Union minimum.
Okay, so as long as they're union, they do have like a base pay. Mm-hmm. Or what if they're not unionized?
Then why would they be in one of my TV shows?
Oh, I get it. So unless you're not part of the union, no shows at all. Okay.
I mean, unless you're doing indie. So I got to tell you guys, it's 5 o'clock in the morning here. We are sitting in bed.
It is. You know what? We have had worse. I will say that. We have absolutely done this radio show from a myriad of different things.
He's doing this and I can see the camera shaking. Not the fun shaking the bed kind.
Okay, well, I guess I'm a very gesturing person.
No. There's nothing wrong with it. It's happening with me too. It's not you. It's not like a.
Oh, okay. Anytime we shake,
he's massively oversensitive when it's morning, like massively oversensitive in the morning. He's like, okay, so she's secretly telling me not to move. No, dude, I'm telling you, every time we move, the thing bounces.
That's okay. You know, it's not only it's a 3D experience with us.
We're gonna make the motion sick.
No worse than us on a boat, I think. It's not that bad, right? Not a boat ride level of experience.
How motion sick are you guys getting?
Write in the comments.
That's really important to me. Like, I do want to do a quick shout out. Thank you to KM Extends. They do all of my hair extensions. To Off-Road Rentals in Palm Springs, California. They'll be doing our giveaway this week. Tell me how, that's our question for the week. We have on the one, the only Dan Henderson. So I would say, what is the name of his famous punch? Be the first one to write that in, and you can win a free ride at Off-Road Rentals in Palm Springs, California.
I love that. Mm-hmm. And it's so damn everywhere that it can't be that hard to figure out.
You'd be surprised. But everyone loves Dan Henderson.
Yeah, he's a very sweet man, very devastating person to fight. Even right now, actually, for that matter, he comes in with that famous catchphrase of his, not the song one, but like, he can't go 5-5s anymore, but he can give you 1 5-minute round.
He's as good once as he ever was.
Yes, exactly.
So I find it really interesting. We've got a whole bunch of fighters coming back. We've got some really devastating fighters coming out.
A lot of people coming out of retirement too. People are coming back into the field. I know you got a few just yourself on your event towards the end of the year.
We do. We've got a few of those, and we're not allowed to talk about who they are yet. I think it's been an interesting go. You have to look at the camera.
Yes, I'm saying hello every so often in my eyes.
Mm-hmm. So I got to tell you, on top of it, like, he's super, super sensitive right now because all we've done is fight since we got to Australia.
It's not been the best experience in terms of like, I wouldn't say that because I've been happy. I've enjoyed our time here. Enjoyed seeing the Tassie Devils, feeding the kangaroos. We've done some very wonderful things out here in Australia.
I had a good time in Australia. All we've done is fight.
Okay, well, you know what? Let's pretend that we are each other's Australia.
You are not my Australia.
I'm working with you here. I need some playback or something.
I'm Australian.
Well, yes, I'd hope so. At least it's what I've known all my life.
How could you be my Australia?
I'm not saying I'm your queen and country. I'm just saying if this is what makes you happy,
queen died,
think of me
now
that
you're
way.
making more depressed.
I beg your pardon. It's king and country. You are right about that. I'm sorry for making your depression worse.
I don't have actual depression. I'm just depressed. I'm like trying to straighten the camera. Look, I'm just saying, like, all we've done is fight.
Yes, it's a damn shame, but we can make it better. We choose what we do, right?
Okay, how do we make it better?
Write in the comments. How do we improve our current situation here in Australia? Let's make it fun for each other.
He annoys me. All he does is annoy me.
Damn. Well, ain't that cold, fam.
You're not a good travel buddy.
Hey, there's worse. Who's worse than me? It could be Donald Trump.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
I was going to say Epstein. He's a pretty bad travel buddy, I think. Oh, man. It still baffles me when people defend that guy.
Yeah, let's not make it political.
No, we can stay away from that. Why not? I'll keep those views to myself. Yeah. Yes.
So who else could we make it? Yeah, I'm with Jeffrey Dahmer.
You're with Jeffrey Dahmer? Yeah. It's funny. Even though he's not necessarily political, he does have a huge fan base of people arguing for his sake. You know what I mean?
That's why I said let's not.
No, Dahmer.
I know. Let's not make it political. You're saying fan base. I'm like, let's not make it political. His fan base is really weird. It's a bunch of incels. It's literally guys that are like, oh, well, if that's the only way you can get someone. It's the same as those guys that are really into the college girls deserve to die. Look, what's
Sorry, what?
Oh my God, yeah. There's a whole movement in a group of people that are essentially saying that I'm forgetting the guy's name.
College. Oh, Elliot. Are you talking about Elliot Rodger?
Yeah, Elliot Rodger. They're like they really call him Saint Elliot. There's a whole movement on that. Well, that same group worships Jeffrey Dahmer.
It's funny when we brought up Dahmer. I was thinking of the ladies who like used to write him and want to go and have his babies in prison.
Wrong guy.
Jeffrey Dahmer, the eating guy. He ate people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's. You always have those weird people who want to like bang them in the prisons. You know.
He had it too. He for sure had it too.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I was thinking right now is just that I never quite understood people who wanted to do that. Now that we're on that topic, why do people want to go and have sex and be in relationships with people who done the most heinous crimes?
Because they're fame fuckers.
I'm sorry?
Fame fuckers.
What's a fame fucker?
Okay, hear me out on this.
All right, I'm listening.
This is like a thing. It's just people that like people for the sake of being famous. And it doesn't matter if you're good famous or bad famous.
Okay.
They like you for being famous. There are girls that want to sleep with you because they know you from TikTok.
So it could be anywhere from Kim Kardashian to Donald Trump. It doesn't matter as long as you...
Remember that dude that took out his family?
There's been a few of those. Can you be a little more specific?
My nose. You can see right up my nose. I love this angle. This is great. I broke my nose. Can you tell?
Guys, we are back on these. If you were here last week, you heard about our special iPad edition of the radio show. It is on a chair.
Behind the scenes.
It is on a chair. It is being stood up by a purse that is connected to a tripod, which has a light up there.
We have 2 lights.
We do have one right here. Actually, they can kind of see the light that we have right here.
Let's move it then so they can't. They're not supposed to.
Got it.
Like, I don't love this. I don't have contour on. I don't have a lot of makeup. I have bags under my eyes. It's going well.
Even with none of the things you're talking about, you still look gorgeous.
Thanks, babe.
You're welcome.
Can you see the comments from there?
I actually cannot know.
Okay, so we need to figure out how to move this because we have people in the chat.
There's the chat.
Yeah, so we have to move into the chat. Welcome. I'll be with you soon. Hendo. Yay, Dan Henderson's here.
Excellent.
I'm excited for that. We just got to get back to our show. I don't know how to get out of the show.
There we go.
This is going well. This is like, I'm going to like, okay, Snuggie Bear, you are in charge of holding the light now.
Then I'll hold it out of the way.
That's my actual phone. We're going to turn. So we are in charge of turning off the light. Wow, that's so much worse.
We just can't win today with this position that we're in.
I've been in worse. You've put me in worse.
No, I think we've absolutely been in worse
chokehold. I've seen you in Dan Henderson's chokehold. That's certainly a worse position.
It wasn't a chokehold. He had me positioned up against the wall at the gym with my hands over my head where I couldn't move. I was just like flailing back and forth.
You've literally put me in that position.
No. I'm not going to comment on that at this point, actually. I plead the fifth. I don't remember well enough.
So, I'm going to say, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the one, the only Dan Henderson. While I try and get a slide on.
How's it going, guys?
Oh my God.
It's 5 a.m. and we're talking about the different positions I put her in. So it's going somewhere, you know.
He's afraid of everything in Australia.
Just the spiders.
What are you guys doing out in Australia?
We're visiting Summer's family and a little bit of work as well. Like I've done a little bit of training out here. I think you've also been setting up for additional TV shows.
So I've got a movie that we're going to be shooting here. He's going to go and roll around with some guys here. He was originally doing with Robert was originally who we were out here with from the PFL. What's his last name? Robert Whitaker.
No, not the
wrong.
No, not Whitaker.
Not Whitaker.
Razor Wilkinson.
Now, here's the problem. The PFL doesn't play in Australia. So this guy just won the light heavyweight championship, won $1 million in the PFL, and has to come home to Australia and be like, I promise I'm famous, guys. People know me. Fame loses a little cachet when you have to say you have it. You are huge in Australia. When he tells people, it's like, I train over at Dan Henderson's. Everyone here loves you. It's amazing.
Well, tell them thank you.
Absolutely. Did you fight much in Australia or travel a lot out here?
How does everyone
I've been there a couple times. I went there. The first time I went there was before the 2000 Olympics or during the Olympics as a training partner for I was still wrestling back then. So I went there with the team, and then I think I cornered Sam there one time. Not sure what city it was in. Might have been Brisbane. I don't remember.
Was that the kick him in the moment? Because that went viral.
Kick him in. You can say it.
It was the kick him in the dick. That became a whole that went wholly viral for Sam.
I don't know if that was that one or not.
I like that.
I don't know.
You have a brewery.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to talk about the brewery, but I want to hear what you have to say more.
No, I was just saying. I I don't remember, but those are the only 2 times I've been to Australia, and I love the people there, and I can halfway understand the language.
Yeah, it works. We certainly have our own colloquialisms. We do. But I
Yeah.
will say you are very loved in Australia, and I like that. The now you have Dan Henderson's gym, of course. Everyone knows Bear trains there, and you have a brewery being attached to the gym. I've never heard of anyone doing that, but it's really cool. What made you decide to attach like a brewery and restaurant to the gym?
I don't know. Just being in the area we're at with a lot of wineries and breweries are popping up, and I was like, you know what? I might just put that in the empty space in the building next to my gym. So we're doing actually a brewery and distillery and restaurant. So it's going to be pretty cool, and we're almost done with construction. So we've probably got another month to go with that, and then working on getting open after that.
Now
that's come by so fast.
I know it's fast for you because you're training there. You know, poor Dan's standing there like this has taken forever. Like,
or behind
it's been a long project. It got put on. It was half done, and it got put on hold because of COVID, and finally got it back on track. And so it's been like a marathon to me. It's been the longest fight of my life getting this thing open.
I like that.
That's fair enough,
but
man.
you still did it.
It's finally coming together. Yeah.
Now,
we're getting it.
Can they watch everyone training? Like, do they get to watch if they're in there?
Certain people will. I think there's an upstairs to it that'll be able to overlook the gym, and that'll be more of a VIP club only access. So if they're in that club, yeah, certain people will be able to watch the daily practices.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I think so as well. Maybe we can get some more people to kind of come into the gym as well.
Wait, you think they're going to come down from the distillery to spar with you guys? You know, if you give them
enough, they might. I think they're gonna look and see what's there and say, hey, maybe I'll start working out here too, and then I could just go get a beer after I'm sweaty.
Yeah,
I'll burn some calories and put them right back on.
Perfect.
For people who want to maintain that perfect physique.
And if they have a hangover, they can just go over to the lab after that.
Oh, that's right. You got a 3-part. You have 3-part now. You got I'm going to put it all together and say the restaurant, and then you have the gym, then you also have the lab. Can you tell us a little bit about what the lab is?
Well, they do IV therapy and Botox and fillers and lasers and all sorts of stuff that I don't need. But they do that. I do the IVs, and they have, hormone replacement and peptides that I do. So, and they do have a cryo chamber, which is pretty nice, pretty cool.
I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, okay, so you can go into the gym, get your face all ripped up by like Dan Henderson or Jeff Creighton, or like, just get beat out of you, and then you can go over the lab and get it fixed.
And then you can go get a drink.
And then get a drink to feel better.
Pretty much, but most people won't have the opportunity to get their face rearranged. They would just come and get a workout in and burn the calories that they're about to put back on.
That's probably for the best. I would avoid the face rearranging. That doesn't sound like a good day.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Now,
it's fun to do.
It's fun to do, right?
It's fun to do.
Don't want to experience it firsthand. I think for most people.
No, there are not many people that want to be punched. Speaking of that, what got you into doing this? Like, what made you decide to get into fighting? Because that's a hell of a thing.
I think just like most people, they watch it on TV, but there was like a UFC or whatever every 2 or 3 months back then. It wasn't every week like it is now, but Randy Couture and I were training partners in wrestling, and we're like, well, that'd be fun, but we don't want to fight one of those big 300-pound dudes or 400-pounders that we didn't know how, and so then we said screw it, well, let's just give it a try. And Randy put an application into the UFC, and got denied, and then he was going to go fight in this tournament in Brazil that for in the heavyweight tournament, and they had a lighter weight, which it was like 175 and weight class, and asked me if I wanted to do it. And at the time, I was wrestling 180 pounds, so I was like, I could probably make 175, and said I'll do it. And that was like 2 weeks notice type of thing. And Randy got a call back from the UFC. Somebody got hurt, and they put him in the UFC instead. So he didn't even go down to Brazil. So that's pretty much how we got started. And then we were training partners in MMA and wrestling for a while because we both did, for about another 2 or 3 years, we both wrestled and did MMA.
Very cool. And now you guys both run successful gyms on top of all that, training the next generation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, trying to teach and give back.
Absolutely. How did that tournament go, by the way, in Brazil? Did you still attend that one?
Yeah, I did. I fought twice in a night and beat both guys. TKO'd the first guy and choked out the second guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You know what? Since you did both, what do you think is more satisfying for you, to submit a guy or to knock him out stiff?
Well, I don't know. I think that was the only submission I've ever. No, I did knee a guy in the ribs and he tapped out once. So technically that's a submission, but that was the only submission I think I got, and he didn't really tap out because he got choked out.
Right.
I would say knocking somebody out is a little more fun.
I like that.
Yeah, that's fair.
You've had all the experience in the world. You are one of the greatest fighters in MMA history. You're an incredible wrestler. What advice would you have to people coming up now? Because it's a very, very different than it used to be.
I don't know. I mean, and they say this about a lot of things in life, but they don't make them like they used to, type of thing. I would say just get into a gym that's got some guys that have been around a while to really push you a little bit harder. And I don't know. I just think people don't push themselves, or coaches don't push guys as hard as they used to.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I see it quite a bit, and how people prepare for fights and warm up for fights isn't how I did it. So, I'm a little bit more old school, and I understand, people get better at certain things, but getting in a gym that's fun and that's going to push you is the biggest thing. Have that atmosphere and make sure it's fun at the same time.
I think people have gotten softer, and I hate to say it like that, but that's really the only way to say it. Like, you look at the guys that were fighting even 10 years ago. Now I'm watching, there was one thing we were looking up online, and one of the guys was talking about, well, you don't want to be stressed, you don't want to overexert yourself in training. And then the guy went into a fight and got the holy hell beat out of him. And I'm kind of watching him going, well, what'd you expect? So, like,
yeah. You definitely have to. I mean, my always, my mentality in practice is, not all the time, but sometimes in training, if you're training to fight, you have to fight in training. And people don't ever do that anymore.
I think that, yeah. And I think that's, well, your gym does. Like, I watch your guys. Your guys are badass. Like, you don't, especially when you come in. Like, I can actually watch when you come in, all the guys, like, take a step back. Because they're like, oh. I
did come in a couple times this year, 2 or 3 times a few months ago, but I was so out of shape that I decided that I'm going to start lifting weights and doing cardio and getting a little better shape before I get punched in the face. So I don't get punched too often. So when I'm too tired, I can't move. Doesn't help me.
Right. And, you bring up a good point. Do you think there are things people should be doing before ever stepping into an MMA or martial arts gym in general? Should they already be in shape, or does it really matter before they get there?
Well, I mean, a gym like mine, it doesn't matter because obviously they're not. You're not going to be allowed to do any type of sparring until you are capable of certain things, and conditioning is one of them. I mean, that just comes with overall practice every day, or 3 days a week. Maybe you come in and you get a workout in, you're going to get in a little better shape, and you're able to you know not do things without getting too tired all the time. So I think my gym, you could do that, but you wouldn't be put in that situation. Now, if you were coming into our pro practice, or something like that, I would definitely suggest you don't show up out of shape.
A little
Probably a
bit.
bad idea. Yes.
Okay, so I think what that means is if you're going to a crap gym, they'll immediately put you in. If you're going somewhere like Dan Henderson's, they'll make sure that you can do what you're being put in to do. What do you think? What do you think about? There's a whole movement now of I know McJojo Life's focused on it, but there's a whole movement of a bunch of these guys who have never done MMA, never trained MMA, are now teaching MMA because it's more popular the gym than teaching
Karate or
Hokkaido
Taekwondo or some other one.
Are you talking about like some of these traditional martial arts gyms that are adding MMA to their stuff they do? Yeah, I mean,
Right.
yeah, I've never seen or even looked at any video of what they're teaching, so I mean, I couldn't say much about it. But I mean, obviously, there's gyms that focus and specialize in certain things, and if you want to get better at MMA, you'd want to go to an MMA specialty gym, not a Taekwondo gym that also does MMA. So, I mean, I don't know if these coaches are studying and have done MMA for a long time, but they started out as Taekwondo, and so they can do both. But yeah, I'm sure there's some people like that, but it's probably rare. And yeah, it's MMA is such a broad sport, a broad thing you can do in the sport. There's so many things you have to learn that it takes forever to really get to where you can start teaching at a higher level.
That makes sense.
Speaking of a broad spectrum, it's also changed a lot through the years. It's evolved with the competitors and the coaches. How do you feel that the fighters of today stack up with the fighters of yesteryear, and even before your time in competing?
I'm sure that technically the fighters nowadays are probably a little bit better, or at least well-rounded. I don't know if they're better at everything than everybody that was fighting before, but there was a lot of guys that really had more specialties before, and the matchups kind of made or broke a fight type of thing, and either it was really excited or really boring because of the matchup. I mean, that still happens today, but you get guys that like a really good striker against a really good grappler, and you don't have that anymore. You have guys that are good at everything, but it's not everybody's great at at one thing.
That makes sense.
Right.
So it's not like it was karate versus wrestling.
Yeah, but technically, I would say that for the most part nowadays, they're more advanced, and there's coaches now. When I started, there was no MMA coaches because it had just started. You had to go to boxing and wrestling and kickboxing and all in submissions and jiu-jitsu, and then try to put it together yourself. So it's a lot easier to learn, and so everybody is getting coached now, which definitely makes guys a lot more well-rounded at an earlier age.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now
but they were, if you get a guy that from way back when that's built mentally tough, like most of them are from back then,
Yes.
against the guy that's a little more skilled now. If it turns into a fight, I would say that the old school guys would win every time.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's the metal matters, and I don't think people put as much stock into it as they should. But the metal matters. What you're built of is what is going to shape you. It's what's going to change.
I mean, your mental toughness definitely makes or breaks once you get to a certain level. If you're not mentally tough, your skills only take you so far.
Yeah, I do agree with that. And I think it says a lot too, because the guys back in the day weren't really fighting for any kind of large amounts of prize money or much of a living sometimes, because nowadays they get better pay. There's opportunities to make millions of dollars. But back then, it's just for glory. It's just for a belt and to say you're the best for the most part. That was kind of what the tournament was founded upon. Who has the best fighting style? Who can come out dominant on top of everybody else?
So they were just essentially badasses.
Right. And yeah, you're willing
I
to
can
get
see
in there
that.
with for just the aspect of taking home the gold.
Yeah, there's nothing in the world to get me in a cage with Dan Henderson. No offense. I like you. You're amazing, but hell no.
Yeah.
So
no.
I mean, I've had fighters and training partners that were fighting, and they were good wrestlers, but they'd take a fight only because they needed some money or wanted to get paid, so that they'd have a little bit of money. And I've always said to them that's not the reason why you should be fighting, to get paid, because your heart's not into it, and you don't really care if you win or lose. You just want to get paid.
I agree with that.
To your point, that guys used to do it and didn't get paid a lot back then. So if you're only doing it for the money, then I feel like your heart's not into it as much. And now it's even a lot more money. So, and I get it, money motivates, but it doesn't motivate your heart to really get invested as well.
You're never going to have that win. Like you're never. Yeah, I get that. That makes sense. Like it's not gonna push you to be great. It'll just push you to show up.
Right, and hope to win.
Yeah,
but knowing that you're going to get paid, you don't really,
That's true.
I guess you don't care.
Right. I didn't think about that. I like that. I'm gonna ask. You were on Joe Rogan recently. What was that experience like?
The Joe Rogan experience was good.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. It was good to catch up with him. I hadn't seen him in a while, because I retired and don't go to many fights, and it was good to catch up with him. I think we basically just BS'd for a couple hours, and it was good.
I like that. Well, he always speaks so highly of you. I figured you'd have a good time doing that. And you're right, you don't go to many fights. So if people want to see you, they have to come to your fights, because you have fights at your gym.
Yeah, we do amateur fights like 3 times a year at my gym, and it's been growing, and now that the gym is pretty much packed with people watching the fight. So it's been great for the community to come out and support some of these amateur fighters that are trying to get some experience.
What made you want to start putting on these shows to begin with? Because they're not, from what I understand, they're not easy to produce, and they a lot of times don't end up even breaking even with their fights. So what made you want to get into doing it?
More about just getting, kind of having an outlet for some of the guys from our gym and local to be able to compete in front of their home people, and I don't know. I just always thought it'd be a good idea to be able to do that at the gym, and the first I think we've done 15 so far, and
oh wow.
The first 10 probably didn't make any money or very little, but it didn't cost me much. They at least paid for themselves most of the time. But now that we kind of have a system down, and we're able to do things a little more efficiently, and we have built our audience up quite a bit. So, it definitely has turned around to where we're making some money now.
Yes, and not only that, you have some high level competitors there, even for amateurs. I remember watching my friend Omar go for the belt against that other fellow in your most recent fight. That wasn't.
Yeah.
It didn't look like an amateur fight. They dropped each other. They had scrambles. They were fighting on and off the cage. It looked like people paid for a UFC fight that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think amateur fights are a little more exciting than some of the most of the pro fights, just because I think when you're learning how to do something, you learn how to be offensive first, but you're a lot better offensively than defensively. So there's a lot of action that happens because guys don't know how to stop it as well.
I like that. That's a good way of looking at it.
The reason why the refs in there then too.
Well, that's it. It's there's a reason for the referees. I've been to some of your fights. They are really, really exciting. Something that's been pointed out is the guys, especially going into fighting now, kind of pick up the culture of the gym they're at. You run one of the tougher gyms, you put on one of the best amateur fights. You've kind of created this culture and opened this doorway for the guys coming through. Do you feel, and we know you hold your guys to a higher level because yours is the gym that people want to go to if they want to compete. Like it's not for the weekend warrior.
Well, it depends on what you want to do. If you want to just get in shape and do it in a fun way, we do that too. But for our amateur and our pro teams, I mean, yeah, we try to do it the right way and try to push guys a little bit more. But guys are tough to push a little harder than these days than they used to be.
Why?
It's I don't know, like we talked about earlier, just the new generation. They're and some guys still are. They'll get in there and get after it, but some guys just don't want to go too hard in practice. But like I said, sometimes in practice, if you're training to fight, you got to fight in training.
I like that. What do you think about the guys? It's a question that we get asked when we have fighters on the show fairly often. What do you think about the guys that cherry pick their fights? They go through, like Khabib was one that was really well known for only taking fights he could win.
Well, I mean, I think that's been around a long time in boxing, not so much in MMA, but now that there's so many fighters out there, you could probably do that a lot easier now, and I don't see any problem with it. But eventually, you're gonna get somebody that you have to fight if you're the champ that you might have a problem with. But yeah, I mean, when I was first fighting, I mean, there wasn't as many fighters out there, and so you just whoever they told you had to fight, you just say okay, and you're gonna fight them. There was less guys to pick from.
That makes sense. So as the competition pool expanded, more people in the field in the industry, it became easier to kind of pick at the guys who probably you knew you could beat or could get the better edge of in a fight versus back when there's fewer people in the pool. Right. You had to just pick whoever they threw at you. That was your guy. You either fought him or you didn't fight at all.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and in Khabib's case, I mean, he was the champ. So either way, he was fighting a pretty good fighter, no matter what. That it was a title fight, But yeah, if he had a choice of three guys, and he would, probably pick the style of guy that he would do best against.
Well, I found it interesting. Now, you have what's considered one of the roughest fights in MMA history. You have one of the toughest fights. Like, you were considered one of the toughest opponents. You've had one of the toughest fights. You have one of the coolest, most memed shots, which is the, I'm not going to say what that punch is called because that's actually our giveaway this week. We do a giveaway every week. Tell me the name of his hit. Write it in. hit me on X, hit me on Insta, whoever writes it in. It's got to be in the DMs. Tell me what it is. You can win our giveaway for this week. It's a ride at Off-Road Rentals in Palm Springs, California. But yeah, you got to tell me what the name of that hit is. So I'm going to try really hard not to say it. And we all know I'm going to screw it up. But you have one of the toughest fights in MMA history, one of the coolest shots, one of the most memes. I mean, that hit we know is one of the most memed hits. What's for you? You know, you've been considered a living legend in this sport. What was it like to have that fight? Like that was, it looked rough just from the outside.
Are you talking about with Bisping?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I enjoyed both fights actually. I felt like I beat him up both times. I know I did. Yeah, I know I knocked him silly the first time, but the second time I didn't quite put him out cold, and he made it to the end of the fight. So, but I still lost the decision, even though I felt like I beat him up. But
yeah,
I enjoyed both fights because I did beat him up both times.
Fair enough. And now that you mentioned that, I think the system for scoring and how they rate fights has changed a little bit as time's gone on as well. It used to be where I think kind of the more damaged guy would come out on the losing end, but now you can kind of get beat to hell, but as long as you had control time, for example, you would still come out the winner.
That was how Bisping won the second. Like that was
I think
fight.
I think they used to judge a little bit more, on like the scorecards who punched somebody more, but now they've incorporated emphasizing damage and aggression more than anything. That's like the number one criteria now, instead of how many times you touch somebody, instead of how many times you touch somebody hard.
Right, because effective shots are way different than just something you can land or touch them with.
Right, yeah, and he might have touched me more than I touched him, but I know I touched him a lot fucking harder.
There you go.
Yeah, that's why it's such a contested fight. Like everyone, so that's why you're considered to have one of the most contested fights, because everyone, if you ever get on Reddit, people are still fighting about that. There's a whole page. They're still fighting about that. Like they're still fighting about that because you beat the holy snot out of him.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that's the way it's gone down in the history books. Is a loss for me.
Understood. But you've made it up several times with all the fights you've had.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, is there a fight that stuck out to you as your favorite? Did you have one that you really, really enjoy or look back on fondly?
Probably when I beat Fedor or Vanderlei. Those two were pretty good ones. Vanderlei got me my second Pride belt. And Fedor was just a fight, but it was fun for me. There's no pressure on a guy that everybody thinks is going to beat you, against that type of fight. But I don't know if everybody did, but my whole camp and and people that always go to my fights were a little more nervous the week of fight week of Fedor than most other fights.
You always seem confident.
You knew you were
good to go. With the fight training, especially before fights, you talked about how people don't have the same kind of warm up and practice that you had. What did you do when you were kind of getting ready at either fight week or in the green room behind the scenes before you go out there?
Well, I warmed up hard. I would basically do a fight, not a 5-round fight, but I would do 2 or 3 rounds back there. But my training partner would be probably at about 50%, and I'd be more like 80%, and not punching him in the face hard, but I was going hard. So one of my training partners that used to corner me that I'd beat up on a lot. He decided it might be a good idea to bring a headgear to warm up. And then
little bit, yeah.
He did
little
that for a
bit.
couple. He did that for a couple fights, and then after that, he stopped bringing it. I'm like, oh, no headgear. He's like, well, I feel like because I had the headgear, you were just hitting me harder. So he's not wearing the headgear anymore. So, yeah, I definitely warm up pretty tough, pretty hard. Yeah, I know that one warm up, or my guy that was warming me up, I hit him in the liver, and he squealed and dropped, and then I was like, hey, and I was in the middle, about to fight, and they had to drag him out of the way and get somebody else to warm up with me.
So
Yeah, and it
can't
wasn't something that I was trying to do hard. It just happened to hit him right in the right spot,
Right.
and fairly hard, but not real hard. But yeah,
The liver shots, it doesn't
hang
matter.
on,
They can touch you, and it's a terrible day.
those are the days that I'm like, why do we not have live streaming behind the scenes? That would have been fantastic. Like, what happened? He came with his
I
training
feel
partner.
like somebody in my camp got it on like a cell phone, because you could hear him squeal.
So it might be out there somewhere.
I want to see
whoever has that footage.
I don't know who has that, but yeah, I mean, I could ask my guys, but
Please.
Gustavo may actually have that one.
I like that.
That would be very
that
cool.
would be fantastic. We need to get that out online. That is fantastic. It's the KO before the fight.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
I like that.
I imagine having those kind of rounds beforehand kind of got you in a really good headspace. What do you think about the guys who really don't spar or do any kind of heavy training before the fights? They just kind of get sweaty.
I don't know. I think some guys are probably okay with that if they have a lot of experience, but it still doesn't get them quite ready to walk out there for certain guys. If I don't know, that's just the way I always did it, and I never overdid it. To where I was so tired. You don't want to be tired when you walk out there, but you should be in good enough shape to go. To like an easy round and then two tougher rounds with a guy going 50% at you. So it's a lot of movement and getting warmed up and just getting ready to punch the guy in the face real hard, and yeah, I don't know. It's just how I've always done it. So, the guys that it's foreign to me that certain people, they just don't warm up like that anymore.
That makes sense.
It's so hard when you go into a fight why you wouldn't want to have some type of like fight beforehand. But you know what? With all that said and done, we're kind of at the end of the show. So if there's anything you want to say, you want to plug or shout out to the audience, now would be the best time.
I guess we kind of talked about. We didn't talk about my book that I have out. That's still out there, called Hendo, the American Athlete. But we've kind of talked about my next project that I'm going to be focused on is my distillery, brewery, restaurant. So, it's going to be called Hendo's Barrel House. So you can kind of look for that on social media, and I'm at Dan Hendo, so that you can always. I'm sure I'll be
to follow him.
Yeah.
Make sure to follow him, because I heard a rumor about a show that I'm producing for Sugar Shane Mosley at the end of the year. I'm just saying, not you. That somebody might be involved.
Oh, yeah, I heard that too.
I know, it's so cool, and it's almost like we're not allowed to announce anything until after, I think July is when he said, the other guy said.
Yeah, so we'll see.
But make sure you are following Dan Henderson, the one, the only. Make sure you are following him. If you are a Dan Henderson fan, make sure you come into his fight nights. You can get his book, and of course, go in, check out the brewery, check out the gym, check out everything he's got going on. Because I think the American Athlete, like, that is the perfect name for the book, because that's you in every sense. It's perfect. So,
yeah, they used to call me that. The Japanese media used to call me the American Athlete. That's when I fought in Pride. So that's kind of where I got that from.
That's awesome.
Well, it hits the nail on the head, because you are more than an MMA fighter. You're more than a wrestler. you're an entrepreneur, you're a sportsman all around. So I love that. And I love that you help so many people. I think that's really cool.
Well, thank you guys.
Very cool.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us on the show, guys. We will keep you appraised of what is going on with Dan. And of course, go check out his social media. Make sure you're following him. I'm Summer Helene. This is my co-host. I can't even call you the baddest bear in the cage because let's face it, Dan would choke you out in like 30 seconds.
It's Pickle Bear.
It's Pickle Bear. Fantastic. This is Behind the Scenes. We'll see you next week from California next time. Good night.
This has been Behind the Scenes with Summer Helene and Bear Fiorda. Only on Talk 4 Media.